Good morning. It is Friday, June the 24th, about 10:15 a.m. This is meteorologist Shay Gibson bringing you the final forecast for the CORA Summer Sailstice race starting tonight at 6 p.m. and lasting through Sunday 3-ish if folks want to stay out and fish. But I have a feeling most boats are going to go through the race and maybe grab some along the way. Either way, this will be a 3-day forecast lasting from today all the way through Sunday. So let me go ahead and put myself in the corner. I don't need to advertise the CORA website again because this is the final forecast. We're looking at the surface maps. So again, as we've talked through the week, high pressure is setting up to the north of us over the mid-Atlantic, and it is providing a rather moderate to somewhat strong east-northeast gradient at the time. And really, it comes down to how robust this flow is right behind this front. As you get closer to Georgia, probably see consistency between Winyah Bay all the way down to Jekyll Island, Georgia. This is the zone where the strongest east-northeast and east winds are going to be filtering down into the coastline. We call this the backdoor east-northeast sea breeze effect along the land, where you get some accelerated speeds along the beaches, in particular where that cooler air is diving over the warmer water, where the land-sea interface is. You get a little bit of a coupling feature there. But offshore it looks rather consistent between 15 to 17 knots as of right now. We're seeing 20 knots out of the Palms. We'll get into real-time values in just a minute. I wanted to take this map forward, and as we get into time, we see that the high pressure sort of elongates, it sort of expands, contracts. The bottom line is that east-northeast east flow is going to remain in place. We may see some toggling between northeast, east, northeast overnight tonight and into tomorrow. So we see a little bit of expansion out over the Atlantic. This may bring more of a northeast flow down the coast overnight as we see the radiational cooling processes. Then as we get into tomorrow, we see that the high pressure re-aggregates again back over the mid-Atlantic. So this is really more endemic to what we call radiational heating and radiational cooling, where the back and forth, where at nighttime it expands and daytime it contracts, sort of domes out over the same area as a blocking feature. And this will continue on as we get into Saturday night. We see the other lobe going over the Atlantic, and then sort of reconjoining again. Now, as we get into Sunday, things get a little bit different. We have a front that starts to drop in a little bit, but this high pressure finally breaks and elongates, which puts its ridge axis all the way down into Georgia. This pretty much makes the wind start to weaken a bit. This front to the south starts to fizzle, so the gradient starts to relax, and I think we're going to get a little bit more of a modest with a residual moderate flow on Sunday. So originally we talked about being 8 to 12 on Sunday, might be more like 12 to 16 for a period during the day before it backs down in the afternoon. So still a little bit of a gradient left over on Sunday, but not quite as strong as today or tomorrow. Let's go ahead and put things into real time. Here is the visible satellite imagery. We can see a few clouds making their way over, some of that cumulus cloud pileup occurring just inland along the coastline. Seeing some streams of clouds over the Gulf Stream where that cooler air mixes over the warmer water. We see that salinity clash, creating storms and whatnot out over the Gulf Stream. In between along the shelf waters, may see a shower or two develop, and the Weather Service Charleston is calling for scattered showers and storms to develop. I think mainly inland along this where this cumulus pileup is coming from, and we get some of this upper flow. Get a little bit of instability into the coast. Next thing you know, we may see a few pop-up isolated showers or storms today. I think most of that's going to fizzle out by this evening. I did talk to Neil Dixon, the Weather Service, yesterday, and did explain that in the skippers meeting that most of that will be limited to our south over Kiowa down to Beaufort and Hilton Head and maybe down to Tybee Island. So this zone is more likely to see the showers and storms today, but not lasting very long and not lasting completely through the evening. So it looks like the race start will be fine. I would say continue on without too much worry, nothing severe if it does occur. Otherwise, we're going to be seeing mostly sunny skies over the immediate coast. If we put the wind vectors into place, first composite radar, we don't see a lot except for offshore at about, let's say 40 nautical miles and beyond. If we look at our streamlines and wind vectors, we can see that the gradient is starting to fill in and that east-northeast flow is more realized in the modeling now at this point. So the initialization had a little bit more north-northeast and northeast. Now it is starting to catch up with what actually is occurring in real time. So that's your streamline of vectoring in the visible satellite. Let's go ahead and take a look at the real-time winds. And here we go. So we're seeing 17 knots at the buoys, Caper's near shore buoy, all the way out to the Edisto buoy at 17 knots. Now remember, we talked about where the high pressure is positioned, where the gradient's going to come. So you can see up here to the north, to the east of Murrells Inlet, more straight northeast, probably more straight northeast as we get down here, especially as reflected at Winyah Bay. Around the bottom of that high pressure is where we start to see the bend in the winds, and eventually becomes a little bit more east in nature. Now, as we get into land, we see that coupling along the parallel flow of the land. You can see here, this is where the east-northeast backdoor sea breeze oscillations are going to be occurring, and that's where the gradient's going to be stronger overall. At nighttime, we may see this gradient hold up 17. We're talking 14 to 18 knots offshore overnight, may calm down to about 11 to 15 knots, as explained in the skippers meeting last night. And then over land, winds may actually back offshore and weaken from the north-northeast to about 6 to 10 knots. And then as the sun comes up tomorrow morning, it leans back in or veers back into the coast and really ramps up like you're seeing now. But offshore is going to remain fairly consistent at 5 miles and beyond. So we have this Corn buoy here. It's about 18 nautical miles out. Of course, the Capers nearshore buoy up this way is about 5, and then this one's about 50 miles out or so at the Capers nearshore buoy. So you're not going to be going that far in the race. The race is going to be basically limited to this little area right here. So it looks like that over that shelf water pocket. Just watch out for the swell to be at about 3 to maybe 4 feet further out, but we're looking at mainly 3 feet for the most part. Tidal flexing as you start the race. Tide's about 5:53 p.m. tonight, and it looks like we're going to be on an ebb tide just past 6.6 feet. So you'll be on the turn. It won't be that much help because you won't have picked up speed. You won't be at the max ebb until about 9 p.m. when you get about 3 hours into the ebb tide going all the way out. But you will be on the ebb tide either way. It'll be probably slack for a little while as you set out. Looking at the wave heights real quick, we'll look at the Cap 2 wave buoy heights are at about 2.5 feet. I do expect that to come up to 3 and possibly 3.5 as this wind really kind of ramps up and stays in place over the day and night. Now the wave directions are already turned from the east. We may see that back northeast. In fact, the Corn buoy here is east here. The Cap 60 is at east. So pretty much a widespread east-northeast or east direction without any secondary swell cutting across it. So again, at the skipper's meeting, explained no storms to our south, storms to our north, nothing really giving a secondary or tertiary swell into that. So it looks pretty straightforward. If you're heading into it, it might be a little rough, but the period's going to be about 6 to 7 seconds, maybe elongated to 8 to 9 seconds as we get into tonight and tomorrow with that consistent flow coming across. So it could get a little bumpy heading into it or across it, and probably pretty smooth on the way back with it as you come back into the coastline. Here's a wave prediction. I'm going to use this buoy 41076 because it is a central buoy. Look at the forecast, and the peak period does hold it right around, let's see, 6:24 and 5, right about 5 to 6 seconds today. It starts to go up a little bit tomorrow and a little bit more up on Saturday to Sunday. So I think this model, the GFS, might be a little below where we need to be. Probably need to go up to about 7 or 8 seconds by tomorrow. But the wave heights do hold around 3 feet or so. We could get 4 feet if the gradient near shore does pick up a little bit. You may see some higher swells, but offshore looks pretty consistent. And as far as temperatures go, it looks like we're going to be in the upper 80s for the next 3 days. A little bit cooler in the day and a little bit cooler in the night. So low 70s be pretty comfortable. In fact, these upper 80s are more indicative of what's going to happen inland in Charleston. So you can take a few degrees off of that and probably hold about mid 80s offshore because the sea surface temperature is right around 80 to 81. So it looks pretty comfortable out there. I'd say at nighttime, remember, we don't have a lot of moonlight to go with. We're on a waning crescent moon heading towards a new moon on the 28th. So going to be pretty dark out there at nighttime. So, make sure if you're doing any fishing, to keep an eye, use your flashlights, do everything you can. And that'll do it for this forecast. I think it's pretty straightforward. We're looking at it's pretty solid 14 to 18 knots offshore today. We may have a little period of 16 to 20. In fact, we'll go back to the real time. May have a period of 16 to 20, but the forecast is holding up. We'll be toggling between about 70 degrees and 90 degrees as we get into tomorrow. The same thing. It looks very similar, like a very similar forecast where we have that 14 to 18 knot spread with periods of 16 to 20. The overnight values dropping, of course, to 12 to 16, maybe 11 to 15. And as we get into Sunday, things petering down where you start a little lighter in the 9 to 13 knots, and then it comes up in the daytime to about 12 to 16, and then fading out in the afternoon as it veers east to southeast. So that'll do it for this forecast, and everybody, best of luck out there on the race course today as you start out, and sail safe, have a good time, and catch lots of good fish. Remember, get your licenses accordingly before you go out there because DNR will be out checking even sailboats, so just be careful. Other than that, everyone have a good time this weekend. Best of luck. Take care.